Right now, the reality surrounding you is not something that's happening to you, it is emerging from you. Picture this. Every morning, you wake up carrying an invisible suitcase packed with yesterday's emotions, last year's disappointments, and decades-old conclusions about what you deserve. The weight isn't always physical, but it's there, pressing against your ribs when you breathe, whispering through your thoughts before you've even opened your eyes. Most people spend their entire lives dragging this baggage, convinced it's just part of who they are. But what if I told you that suitcase isn't your identity? It's just a frequency you've been tuned to. Today, we don't just talk about changing the station. Today, we smash the old radio and build a quantum receiver that picks up timelines you never knew existed. You wake up, same bed, same ceiling, same internal soundtrack that starts playing before your conscious mind even comes online. There's that familiar tightness in your chest. Not quite anxiety, not quite sadness, but something heavier than hope. Your feet hit the floor, and already, without thinking, you're being yesterday's version of yourself. The shower temperature, the breakfast choice, the way you check your phone, all of it choreographed by a deeper program running beneath your awareness. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research reveals something startling. By age 35, 95% of who you think you are is actually a collection of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, and unconscious habits. Your personality has become a hardwired loop, playing the same song on repeat while your dreams gather dust on the shelf. But here's where it gets fascinating. Your body doesn't distinguish between an experience happening right now and one you're vividly remembering. When you replay that conversation where someone dismissed your idea, your nervous system releases the exact same stress hormones, as if the rejection were occurring in real time. Do this enough, and most of us do it thousands of times, and your biology becomes a living archive of the past. Your cells are literally addicted to being the version of you that expects disappointment, braces for abandonment, or settles for scraps, because maybe that's all you're meant to receive. The neuroscience behind this is both beautiful and brutal. Every thought fires like an electrical signal through your neural networks. Every emotion creates a magnetic field that radiates from your heart. Yes, your heart has an electromagnetic signature 40 to 60 times stronger than your brain's. The HeartMath Institute has measured this. When you feel gratitude, your heart's magnetic field becomes coherent, organized, powerful. When you feel frustration, it becomes chaotic, scattered, weak. Together, these electrical thoughts and magnetic emotions form your vibrational broadcast, a 24/7 signal you're beaming into the quantum field. Bruce Lipton, the godfather of epigenetics, puts it simply: the moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body. But most people try to change their thoughts while keeping the same emotional chemistry, like trying to paint a masterpiece with yesterday's dirty water. The canvas keeps coming out muddy because the medium hasn't shifted. Your thoughts might say, "I deserve abundance," but if your emotional home is still fear-based scarcity, guess which signal wins? The universe isn't listening to your affirmations, it's listening to your authenticity, to the frequency you're actually embodying moment by moment. Think of it this way. If you're an FM radio station and your baseline feeling is worry, you're broadcasting on frequency 97.3, Anxiety FM. Every thought you think gets translated through that emotional filter. The quantum field, which is essentially a cosmic radio receiver, picks up your signal and mirrors back more content that matches that frequency. Traffic jams when you're already late. Bills arriving when money feels tight. People treating you exactly how you secretly believe you deserve to be treated. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's precise. It delivers what you're vibrationally aligned with, not what you consciously want. The quantum laboratory has proven something that would have been considered mystical nonsense 50 years ago. Werner Heisenberg's observer effect demonstrates that particles exist in a state of infinite possibility until something observes them, then they collapse into a single reality. The delayed choice quantum eraser experiment took this even further, showing that the decision to observe can actually change the past behavior of particles. Time isn't linear in quantum mechanics. It's fluid, responsive, alive. You are simultaneously the scientist conducting the experiment and the particle being observed. The question is, which version of you is holding the microscope? When you wake up as yesterday's self, You're observing reality through the lens of old conclusions, outdated fears, familiar limitations. That lens collapses the quantum field into more of the same, evidence that confirms your existing beliefs about what's possible. But the moment you become aware of this process, something extraordinary happens. You step out of the pattern and into the role of conscious observer. You realize that the voice in your head saying "don't get your hopes up" isn't wisdom. It's just an echo from a past version of you who got hurt and decided it was safer to expect less. Here's why change feels so exhausting for most people. They're trying to build a new life on the foundation of an old identity. Stress hormones like cortisol are literally addictive. Your cells develop receptor sites that crave the familiar cocktail of chemicals you produce when you worry, doubt, or relive past trauma. Dr. Candace Pert's research on neuropeptides showed that emotions are molecules, and your body becomes a drug manufacturing plant, producing the chemical signature of whatever identity you're most addicted to being. I remember speaking with a woman who'd been trying to manifest a loving relationship for 3 years. She had vision boards, she did affirmations, she went to workshops. But every night before sleep, she'd replay conversations with her ex, who cheated on her. She'd feel the betrayal fresh in her body, release those chemicals into her system, and wonder why she kept attracting unavailable partners. Her conscious mind wanted love, but her unconscious identity was still broadcasting betrayal. The field was just giving her more evidence that men couldn't be trusted because that was the emotional signal she was addicted to transmitting. The breakthrough came when she realized she wasn't broken, she was just tuned to the wrong frequency. The old self that expected betrayal had served a purpose. It had protected her from further hurt. But protection and expansion can't coexist. You can't simultaneously guard against love and attract it. Something had to shift, and it wasn't her circumstances, it was her chemistry. This is where most manifestation teachings get it wrong. They focus on techniques, visualization, scripting, vision boards, while ignoring the fact that your identity is literally broadcasting a different message. You can visualize abundance all you want, but if you're still being the person who checks their bank account with anxiety, who apologizes for taking up space, who feels guilty for wanting more, then you're trying to tune into wealth while still vibrating as scarcity. It's like trying to receive a crystal clear FM signal while your antenna is bent toward AM static. The observer effect isn't just something that happens in laboratories, it's happening in your life right now. Every moment you're conscious, you're collapsing infinite possibilities into a single experience. But who's doing the observing? Is it the wounded child who learned that wanting too much leads to disappointment? Is it the perfectionist who believes they have to earn their worth? Or is it the version of you that already knows how this story ends? Not with struggle, but with alignment. Quantum physics tells us that all possibilities exist simultaneously in what's called the superposition. Your future self, the one living in the reality you desire, isn't waiting in some distant timeline. They exist right now, in this moment, vibrating at a frequency you haven't matched yet. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't time or circumstance, it's vibration. And vibration can shift in an instant. Now comes the practical magic. We're going to perform what I call a quantum identity reset ritual. This isn't positive thinking or wishful visualization. This is about fundamentally altering the electromagnetic signature you're broadcasting to the field. Think of it as changing your radio station, but at the cellular level. Step 1. Name and claim the old self. You can't release what you don't acknowledge. Right now, give your outdated identity a name. Maybe it's the doubter, who questions every good thing before it arrives. Maybe it's the invisible one, who learned to shrink to avoid disappointment. Maybe it's the overgiver, who believes love must be earned through exhaustion. Whatever name comes up, say it out loud. When you label a pattern, you separate from it. You move from being the pattern to observing the pattern, and that shift in perspective changes everything. I want you to understand something profound here. This old self isn't your enemy. It was crafted during times of pain, rejection, or trauma as a survival mechanism. The part of you that expects the worst learned to do so because at some point, expecting the worst actually protected you from deeper hurt. The part that settles for less learned that wanting more felt dangerous. These patterns weren't random. They were intelligent responses to an unintelligent world, but that world no longer exists. even if your nervous system hasn't gotten the memo yet. Step 2. The somatic release visualization. Close your eyes and imagine yourself carrying that named identity like a heavy backpack you've been lugging up mountains for years. Feel the weight of it, not just physical, but energetic. The strap cutting into your shoulders represents every time you've held back from speaking your truth. The bulging sides represent every opportunity you didn't take because it felt too risky. The weight pressing against your spine represents every moment you've chosen safety over expansion. Now, in your mind's eye, stop walking. Take a deep breath and slowly slip the straps off your shoulders. Feel your body lighten as you place that identity backpack gently on the ground. You're not destroying it, you're choosing not to carry it forward. Notice how your spine naturally lengthens when the weight is gone. Andrew Huberman's research shows that a simple 2-minute shift to upright open posture floods the brain with neurochemicals that enhance alertness and confidence. Your biology is listening when you choose to stand taller. Step 3. Embody the new frequency. This is where most people get it wrong. They think embodiment means pretending. It doesn't. It means becoming vibrationally congruent with the reality you're calling in. Stand up if you can, or sit with your spine naturally erect. Let your shoulders settle back, not through force, but through ease. Breathe deep into your ribs, expanding them sideways rather than just lifting them up. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and receive mode. Now feel into the version of you who already lives in alignment with your desires. Not the version who's trying to get there, but the one who's already there. How do they hold their body? There's a subtle difference between the posture of someone who's hoping for success and someone who's already successful. The hopeful person leans forward slightly, as if life is always just out of reach. The successful person stands centered, as if life flows through them rather than around them. Here's the declaration that will anchor this shift. I no longer collapse the past. I tune into who I truly am. Say it once, softly, as if you're whispering a secret to the universe. Say it again with more conviction, as if you're stating a fact. Say it a third time, as if you're issuing a command to reality itself. These aren't just words, they're vibrational instructions. Every cell in your body is listening, and more importantly, so is the quantum field. But here's what separates amateurs from masters: the field test. For the next 48 hours, you're going to live like an interactive experiment. Carry a small notebook or use your phone to jot down every synchronicity, no matter how minor. The unexpected text from someone you were just thinking about. The parking space that opens up exactly when you need it. The stranger who complements the exact quality you've been trying to own. The book that falls off the shelf and opens to the page you needed to read. Neville Goddard called these events the bridge of incidents, stepping stones that appear in the three-dimensional world after you've already made the shift in consciousness. They're not coincidences, they're confirmations. Each one is a message from the field saying, "We see you, we hear your new frequency." Here's evidence that reality is already bending. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's research on morphic resonance suggests that when you align with a new pattern of being, you actually make it easier for others to access that same pattern. Your shift isn't just personal, it's contributing to a collective awakening. Every time you choose the new frequency over the old, you're strengthening that vibration in the field for everyone. Now we get to the part that determines whether this shift lasts a day or transforms your entire life. Living in perpetual coherence. Most people have peak moments of alignment during meditation. After a breakthrough, in those golden hours when everything feels possible. But then they slip back into habitual patterns because they haven't built sustainable practices to maintain the new frequency. Here's your daily coherence protocol. Every morning, before you check your phone or dive into the day's demands, spend exactly 3 minutes in heart-focused breathing. The HeartMath Institute has measured this. When you breathe slowly and focus attention on your heart area while feeling appreciation or gratitude, your heart rhythm becomes coherent within minutes. This coherent heart rhythm synchronizes your nervous system, optimizes hormone production, and actually increases intuitive intelligence. Place your hand on your heart, breathe in for 5 counts, out for 5 counts. As you breathe, recall the feeling of releasing that old identity backpack, the lightness, the freedom, the possibility. Don't think the feeling, feel the feeling. Your heart doesn't understand language, but it responds instantly to authentic emotion. During your lunch break, practice what I call identity anchoring. Write one sentence in a journal or phone note. Today I respond like the version of me, fill in the blank, with the quality you're embodying. Today I respond like the version of me who trusts divine timing. Today I respond like the version of me who magnetizes opportunities. Today I respond like the version of me who speaks truth with love. Read it once, then forget about it. Let your subconscious mind do the work. Before sleep, instead of scrolling social media or replaying the day's stress, do what Neville Goddard called the revision technique. Replay your day backward and fast forward, but this time, notice every moment where the old self tried to take control. See it without judgment, just observe. Then, imagine how the new self would have responded in those moments. This isn't about guilt or regret. It's about programming your subconscious mind with new templates for future situations. If you notice yourself slipping back into old patterns, and you will, because the nervous system loves familiarity, don't panic. The moment you catch yourself is actually the moment of power. You've stepped out of unconsciousness and into awareness, which means you're once again the observer rather than the observed. Simply say, I see you, old pattern. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I choose differently now. Then breathe, straighten your posture, and make one small choice that aligns with your new identity. The evidence will start showing up in ways that feel almost supernatural, but they're actually quite logical when you understand how frequency works. That person who's been ghosting your texts suddenly responds with enthusiasm. The project you've been struggling with suddenly flows effortlessly. You walk into rooms and people treat you differently, not because you look different, but because you're radiating a different energy signature. Dr. Tsurumoto's water experiments showed that water crystals form differently depending on the emotional energy they're exposed to. Since your body is roughly 60% water, imagine how your entire cellular structure shifts when you consistently broadcast coherence instead of chaos, trust instead of fear, gratitude instead of lack. One of my favorite quantum principles is non-locality, the idea that particles can be instantly connected across vast distances. When you shift your inner frequency, you don't just change your personal reality, you change how you interface with the collective field. People who match your new frequency are drawn to you magnetically. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly become obvious. Resources appear from unexpected sources because you're no longer broadcasting the vibration of someone who has to struggle for everything. This is why the old manifestation paradigm of asking the universe is backwards. You're not asking for anything, you're becoming the frequency of what you desire, and the universe has no choice but to mirror that back to you. It's not mystical, it's mathematical. Like attracts like isn't just a spiritual platitude, it's a quantum law. Here's something most teachers won't tell you. The new timeline doesn't always show up as you expect it to. Sometimes the bridge of incidents looks like challenges that force you to embody your new identity more fully. The job interview that tests whether you truly believe in your worth. The relationship situation that shows you whether you've really released the need to control outcomes. These aren't obstacles. They're invitations to prove to yourself that the shift is real. The old self might interpret challenges as evidence that nothing's working. The new self recognizes them as opportunities to demonstrate how much you've actually changed. When you respond to difficulties from your new frequency instead of your old patterns, you lock in the transformation at the cellular level. Remember, you're not trying to attract a new life. You're aligning with the version of reality where that life already exists. Every moment of coherence is a vote for that timeline. Every choice to respond as your highest self instead of your wounded self is a declaration of which world you want to inhabit. As we approach the close of this transmission, I want you to feel something beyond intellectual understanding. Right now, as you read these words, something in your energy field is shifting. It's subtle but unmistakable, a loosening of old constraints, an opening of new possibilities. That's not imagination, that's the observer effect in real time. Your consciousness is collapsing a new reality into form just by engaging with these concepts at the level of embodiment rather than mere information. The version of you who trusts instead of fears, who creates instead of reacts, who magnetizes instead of chases, they're not a future possibility. They exist right now in the quantum field. waiting for you to match their frequency. All the techniques, all the science, all the stories I've shared are just pointing toward one simple truth. You are not broken, stuck, or limited. You've just been tuned to the wrong station. If something in you recognizes this as more than content, if it feels like remembrance, like coming home to a part of yourself you'd forgotten, then mark this moment. Scroll down and type in the comments, "The old me has been released." Let those 6 words be more than text on a screen. Let them be an energetic signature, rippling through the quantum field, a declaration that you're no longer available for the frequency of limitation. Then hit subscribe, not just to stay updated on videos, but to stay tuned to this frequency. To be part of a community that remembers we are not victims of reality, we are reality collapsed into human form, and that means we have more power than we've been taught to believe. So breathe with me one last time. Inhale the unknown. Exhale the outdated. Feel your cells reorganizing around this new information. Feel your energy field expanding beyond the old borders of who you thought you had to be. The version of you who lives the life you've been asking for isn't coming. They're here. They've always been here. All they needed was your permission to step forward. Reality is listening. The field is responding. Your new timeline is loading. Welcome to the frequency of who you truly are.